the first thing that we have to do is find a way to reactivate that thinking part of our brain where we're relaxed and when we're able to think stuff through. That's when you can do the positive self-talk, because that's when you're actually listening to yourself. But when you're stressed, it's like speaking to a toddler who's having a tantrum.
Hi there, I'm Chaneen. As a certified health coach and kinesiologist, I help busy women in their 40s who feel tired, overwhelmed, anxious, frustrated and stuck to live their best years in great health and balance. Together, we'll explore a life that reflects intentional living and lays the foundation for you to live your life's purpose and flourish in your 40s. Welcome to Becoming You at 40.
Welcome back to the space where I help women in their 40s reclaim their energy, emotional steadiness, and sense of self as they move through this phase of transition and this extraordinary season of life. And today I have an incredible guest with me. I'm joined by Bianca Riemer, a business coach from the UK, who has spent over a decade as a top-ranked analyst. And now she advises senior leaders on how to perform and stay centered under intense pressure. And she is joining me in a conversation to empower you as the listener to build resilience in your 40s. So Bianca, welcome to Becoming You at 40.
Chaneen, thank you so much for inviting me on the show.
I'm really looking forward to our conversation, and just in our conversation a few weeks back, we actually realized that we've got a lot of things in common. Both of us work with women, and our work overlaps so beautifully because we both help women regulate their energy, find steadiness, and reconnect with themselves. And we just do it through different modalities. You as a business coach and a pranic healer, and I as a health coach and a kinesiologist. And not only do we sort of speak the same language, we are also the same age. Mm-hmm. And both of us have undergone a big transformation since we turned 40, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm excited to bring what I've got to share to the show and have a really lovely exchange with you.
I can't wait. Now, just before we dive in, I want to tell the listeners what I love about your work and why I just had to bring you onto the show. Bianca focuses not on mindset shifts, but on regulating the nervous system so you can access calm, clarity, and credibility from the inside out, no matter your circumstances. And I think, honestly, that is exactly what a lot of women in their 40s are craving, is that stability that they are seeking. Now, just before I dive in and start asking my first question, I just love to invite the listeners to follow this podcast. Please hit follow so you never miss an episode. Becoming You at 40 is all about helping your body to feel steady, supported, and strong in this season of your life. And every follow helps this message reach more women who need to hear this. So please hit that follow button. Now, Bianca, let's start by naming the reality that many of us are living in. Many women in their 40s feel like they are stepping into this new season of life that brings with change. And it can feel overwhelming, and especially if they are doing so while carrying years of emotional load that they bring with from their 20s and their 30s. So why is it that this season can feel, and this change or this uncertainty can feel so heavy for us in this stage?
Yes, so what happens in our 40s is that we are bombarded with transitions. When we hit our 40s, we're not just going through our own life transition, we're also potentially experiencing transitions of the people around us. So in many cases, our children are either preteens or teenagers. So they're going through a big transition, which then affects us as caregivers. We may also be faced with our own parents going through transitions. They may either have health problems because of the aging process or need care, or they may no longer be around, and we're dealing with the transition of letting go and dealing with the fact that they're no longer around. And then last but not least, our own internal transitions with the changes that are happening in our bodies or starting to happen in our 40s as well. And Chaneen, you mentioned there's all the emotional baggage, of course, that we have experienced growing up as children and teenagers ourselves, our 20s, 30s, and now 40s. And let's be honest, the world is not the most stable place either at the moment with all the climate change and natural disasters and armed conflict, the uncertainty going on in the world of work with AI and digital transformation, and people worried that they're losing their jobs, and potential financial instability. So there's really a lot going on at the moment. And as women, we tend to have a tendency to want to look after everybody else around us as well. So it's really a lot to deal with. So feeling overwhelmed, if you're not feeling overwhelmed, then please give me a call. I want to know how you do that. But, if you're feeling overwhelmed, then that's how most people I speak to are feeling. So
So you are not alone on that.
You're not alone on that, exactly.
But I think it's what you've said is so true, because it's not just one thing. It's that there are so many things that's shifting in your 40s. It's your health, it's your relationships, your hormones, your identity. And that's just with you and your relationships. That's not even with what's going on around you in the world and at work, externally. So it's really a lot that we are carrying as women. And like you said, we are the caregivers. So we just take on so much, and we can feel so buried under all our roles and responsibilities and worries, and we attract everybody else's problems so easily as well. But when we do enter such a big transition, whether it's work-related or health-related, or whether you are undergoing an identity shift, why do those first few months feel so destabilizing emotionally and energetically?
Yes, so any type of change in your environment or in your inner world is stress for you. And you may not necessarily notice the stress immediately when it happens, but it tends to work in the background, and then all of a sudden you find that you're suddenly snapping at the people that you love, or you find that you've got cold sores around or an ulcer in your mouth, or all of a sudden you bloat more than usual, or you've got headaches. There's some kind of physical or behavioral change in you that's a result of the stress buildup that's been happening as either your environment or your inner world has changed. And a very good example that often clicks with people is if you think about in the past, have you ever gone on holiday and you wanted to relax, but then you got sick? Why did you get sick? You went on holiday to relax, right? But it's because you go somewhere and it's a complete change of environment. And even if you've gone to the beach, and you usually live in a big city, you go to the beach, it's because it's a change of the environment that your system gets hit with more stress, and then you get ill. Even though you had no intention of becoming ill, you actually wanted to relax.
How many times have I heard that, and even experienced it, I must honestly say, You think you are doing yourself a favor, going on holiday, and then suddenly the whole change, getting out of that stressed environment, is actually even more stressful because your nervous system is so used to the stress that you cope with every day. So what a great example. And I very often hear women in my practice, and I think you might relate to this, Bianca. They would say things like, I'm trying to keep everything together. And they try to hold the space for everyone else as well. But that comes with a cost. And it comes with an emotional burden. Because as they try to hold everything together, they can very easily just suppress their own feelings and frustrations. So what does it look like to feel your emotions without letting your emotions take over your day or even steal your confidence?
Yes, that's such a great question. And here's the thing, women are different from men in this respect, right? Because as women, we really have a big need to process our emotions.
That's very true.
The way that we do that is, most women, we like to talk things through with somebody. Now, here's the thing. This is what men don't understand, is that we like to talk things through. We already know what we have to do about it. We already know the solution, but we still want to talk things through. And I see this every day with women leaders that I coach, is that they already know what strategically they have to do in their business. But they still want to talk it through with me to process their emotions.
Yes.
Whereas men are very different. When they want to process things, they withdraw from other people and they think stuff through by themselves. They don't feel the same need to necessarily talk about it as much as women. And when I coach men, they actually talk in order to find the solution. They do the thinking together with me. Whereas women, I find they often already intuitively know what the right thing is to do, but they just want to talk it through. So very different way of dealing with emotions. And that's why, as a woman, it's very important that you have that support system, that you have somebody that you can talk to. And it can be a therapist or a coach or practitioner that, you pay for their services.
Yes.
Or it can be a family friend, a friend, or it can be a group of friends that you have that exchange with. And you may also notice that during certain times of the month, you need to talk more, or you want to talk more than during other times of the month. This is not necessarily got to do with your menstrual cycle. It's just the cycle that a lot of women find they go through. So having that awareness and then having that support system is really, really important to, be able to feel your emotions, but also process them so that you have that capacity to be there for other people.
That's very true. And I think a lot of women can make the mistake of thinking they have to deal with everything on their own. But what I like what you've just said is they need the support, and it's so important that we create a support system for us. I can really relate with talking through business plans. I do the same. I also have the plan in my head, but sometimes just being able to articulate it sort of puts everything into place. It's just that last bit of confirmation that we get from being able to verbally speak about our plans. So I can really relate to that. And what a great example. And I see this.
Chaneen, I love the fact that you used the word confirmation.
Yes.
Right? You intuitively use that word confirmation because you already know what you're going to do. You just, by talking it through with somebody, you get that internal confirmation that your intuition was right about what you were going to do.
Yeah. And that's empowering to know. I think that it's important for women to also be able to trust the intuition. And to know that the intuition won't let them down. It's something that they need to be connected to. Now, I see in my kinesiology practice, and maybe you see it with the clients that you work with, when a woman goes through this phase of transition and feels overwhelmed and burdened and maybe feel a lot of pressure, and they keep all of those emotions internal and just try to keep everything together, the body at some stage starts to whisper. And then if we don't listen to our bodies, the bodies start to scream. It will become very loud and saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I need help. And I think we can very often make a mistake to wait until we reach that point before we ask for help. So we've become such good experts in pushing through our exhaustion and pain and worries and our overwhelm. But that actually just creates a negative pattern, and I think you will agree. So how does that pattern quietly erode our clarity and being able to be present, and also, the way that we influence the people around us if we keep stuck in that pattern?
Yes. So I like to use the analogy of your mobile phone for this. So many of us, we're like, a little bit like the Indian goddess with like 10 arms, or I don't know how many arms she has. She has a lot of arms. She's spinning a lot of plates. And it's the equivalent of having your phone run with 10 apps open. 10 apps are open on your phone. And also you're not charging the battery. So your phone is, as you keep all those apps open, spinning all those plates, your phone, first of all, it gets slower and the app performance goes down. Then if you don't recharge your phone, the next thing that happens is it may go into the so-called battery saving mode.
Yes.
So have you ever experienced that? It's the most annoying thing ever, because your phone can't do what it's supposed to do anymore. Like you're somewhere, you want to look up on Google Maps where the shop is or the cafe, and it can't load the map. So it's kind of
frustrating.
Useless. It's kind of useless. So as women, we're kind of like the phone with the app that has got all the apps open in battery saving mode. You're not going to be capable of doing all the things that you usually do 100%. You're going to be in battery saving mode and just do the bare minimum. And that's just really not very satisfying. You're going to be tired, exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally, and it's a negative spiral, because you're going to beat yourself up on, why can't I do A anymore? I used to be so good at A, and what's wrong with me all of a sudden? But it's important to be aware that you're also doing B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I at the same time, and a phone can't do it. So why are you expecting yourself to be able to do it for a long time?
Exactly, yeah. And we are so hard on ourselves. All of us make that mistake to think we can just continue and continue and continue, while we actually can't, and our nervous systems can't. And I think one of the things that it's one of your lines, it says regulation before mindset. And I really love that, and I can really connect with that as a health coach, because it's really important to practice regulation. But a lot of women have tried positive thinking, so they will just push through and say, no, I can keep this together, and I've got the power, and whatever they try to tell themselves to get through their day or to get through a situation, despite how difficult it might be. But if they're also overwhelmed, why, in your opinion, does that type of positive thinking or mindset not really work for them?
Yes. So I like to use a very simplified model of our brain. So when we are in top performance state, we are relaxed, we believe in ourselves, and we have access to the front part of the brain. This is where all the human thinking happens. This is where we inspire other people. We have lots of great ideas, and we're, top state. When we are stressed, overwhelmed, tired, that part of the brain is switched off. It's the lower brainstem that's activated, and that's what makes us want to run, hide, fight, or flight, or freeze, or fawn. So when we're stressed, that's the state that we're in. We have no access to the thinking, the inspiring, the leadership capacities. And now I've forgotten your question, sorry.
No problem. No, I was just thinking, but before I repeat the question, I mean, if we stay stressed for a long time, it means that we are all literally always in that fight or flight situation. So if I hear you correctly, it basically means that we don't get back to a state where we can actually make proper decisions. So this has got a very huge spiraling effect if we don't basically take care of ourselves. The question was for women who have tried positive thinking to try and manage their stress and the pressure, why isn't that really working? Why isn't mindset alone enough? That was the question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so why does positive thinking not work when we're stressed and tired? It's because we're in our animal state. We just
survival mode. Yeah,
we're in survival mode. Any listener who's got small children, have you ever tried to talk sense to a toddler who's throwing a tantrum?
It doesn't work.
We may have tried it, but yeah, exactly. It doesn't work because the toddler is in survival mode when they're throwing a tantrum. They're not capable of listening. And the same is true to an adult when they are in stress response, or when they're angry or sad or when they're scared, is that the words just don't come through. The first thing that we have to do is find a way to reactivate that thinking part of our brain where we're relaxed and when we're able to think stuff through. That's when you can do the positive self-talk, because that's when you're actually listening to yourself. But when you're stressed, it's like speaking to a toddler who's having a tantrum.
Even if you're speaking to yourself, it's not really impacting, because you try positive talking to yourself, but you are not in a state to hear that, and you're not in a state to integrate that into yourself and into your thinking. That makes so good sense, and I love your analogy there with the 2-year-old throwing a tantrum, because it makes it so easy to understand. So thank you so much for sharing that. But a lot of times, we are also trying to regulate our stress and our nervous systems, but we live in a world where we can't control what's happening around us. So we can't necessarily change our circumstances. But what can we do in regards to nervous system regulation to help us feel in control despite what's happening around us?
Yes. I'm going to share a very powerful technique. It sounds too simple to work, but I invite everybody to try this out. Okay. So here's the thing. When I trained as a yoga teacher many years ago, I actually noticed this. When you ask an adult to take a deep breath, what happens is the chest lifts up.
Yes.
Not much is happening to the tummy area. Some people might actually pull in the tummy area and puff up their chest. Now, this is how adults take a deep breath. What happens, though, is that you're only using half of your lung capacity, and you're only really using half of what your body is capable of in terms of expelling toxins and CO2, and also calming your nervous system. So as adults, we constantly breathe in a stress type breathing. Why do we do that? It's because a lot of our stress energies are held in the upper tummy area. So if you think about in the past, when you felt very stressed, you probably felt a knot either in your throat or in your upper tummy area. Now, why is it that we're feeling stress there and not elsewhere in the body. It's because in my energy work with people, this is where we hold a lot of tension. And the way to relieve that tension very quickly, where you don't need any tools at all, you don't need any external help, you can do this anywhere you are, you can try this right now, is called deep abdominal breathing. So if you ever watched a child or a pet when they are asleep and when they're relaxed, what you notice is that their tummy area goes big as they inhale. As they inhale, the chest doesn't even really move that much. It's mainly their tummy area that moves out as they inhale. So they naturally do deep abdominal breathing. As adults, we unlearn that because we have this buildup of tension in our upper tummy area. But you can release that tension in your upper tummy area by trying this out with me now. So as you inhale, focus on your belly button. As you inhale, the belly button goes out. And this tends to be quite difficult for adults when they try this the first time if they've never done it before, because it's new for a lot of adults, because we've unlearned this thing that we used to do as children. But as you inhale, your belly comes out. And then as you exhale, it just naturally falls back to the spine. So as you inhale, your belly goes out. And you do this in your own rhythm that you feel comfortable with. If you feel comfortable doing so, you can have one hand on your chest and the other hand on your belly area near the belly button. And just notice how is it that you naturally breathe. And then try to direct your breath to the belly area. So what happens physiologically is that the diaphragm, which is the muscle that sits underneath your lungs, as you inhale, pulls into the tummy area. So that's why the tummy goes out, right? And as that happens, you're actually using the full capacity of your lungs to absorb oxygen and to expel toxins from the body. So physically, your body gets a good cleanup. And then also your nervous system gets the signal that you are relaxed, because this is how you naturally used to breathe when you were relaxed. So my recommendation is to practice this every day. A really great time to do this is in the morning when you're waking up, because that's when our anxiety tends to be really high, right? That's when the mind kicks in and we have all these thoughts. And we may feel that tension in our upper tummies. So try this out in the morning and also in the evening when you're trying to fall asleep. This is also a really great way to calm down the nervous system. And once you've got a good practice of this build up, once you're comfortable breathing into the tummy area, that's when then you can start using this in high pressure situations. And that's when it will really help you in high pressure situations. The big mistake people make is they wait for the high pressure situation and then try the technique, and it's hard. But if you practice this every day, you can do this when you're brushing your teeth or waiting for your coffee to get ready or frying your eggs. Attach it to something you already do, practice it, and it will work wonders for you.
That is excellent advice. And like you said, it sounds so simple, but it does so much. It does so much for your nervous system. And I mean, like you said, it even helps you expel toxins. It's a good clean. And I love the way that you say practicing it every day will help you to sort of automatically do it then when you are in a really stressful situation. But without the daily practice, you will not know to do that deep breathing in that stressful circumstances. While you were describing the deep breathing, I've tried it. I'm sitting here and, taking those deep breaths, and you can really feel the difference when you really do a deep breath into your abdominals. I could immediately feel my shoulders relaxing. So I think it does so much. So thank you for that very easy, very doable piece of advice. It's such an important tool for women to use. So thank you very much. Now let's get even more practical, because I know a lot of our listeners can sometimes spiral. They can go into a spiral of self-doubt or even overwhelm, or they can feel totally flooded by emotions. So do you have any advice regarding a grounding tool that they can start using immediately to help them calm that spiraling down without necessarily dismissing how they are feeling or suppressing their feelings.
Mm-hmm. So I will build on the breathing, actually.
Okay.
So what you can do, a grounding tool, is have your feet further than hip width apart, either standing or sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with your feet flat on the ground. So ideally, if you're wearing heels, it's better to have the feet flat on the ground because, that's how you help your feet ground and feel more stable and more secure.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so have your feet further than hip width apart, and also you can have your hands further than shoulder width apart. You can spread them up and look up if that feels comfortable. It's a Harvard University researcher called Amy Cuddy. She actually has a TED talk called Power Poses, and her advice is, this is based on research, make your body big, stand like this, with your hands wider than shoulder width apart, stretch them out, stretch out your legs further than hip width apart. And you can do the deep breathing and look up. And what it does is it gives your body a boost in safety and security. And her recommendation is do this before the difficult situation. But, if it's appropriate, what you can do also, as and when you feel overwhelmed, you can do this and see how it changes the way that you're feeling about the situation. Of course, it doesn't change the situation.
Yes,
the circumstances are still going to be the same, but you may start feeling more resourceful by using your body to reverse engineer a relaxed state. And then as you do this together with the breathing, looking up is important as well. What looking up does is it makes you more positive. You see more positive options. So it gives you that, it may give you that access to the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of the brain again, increasing your creativity, connecting you to your intuition. And all of a sudden you may see a different perspective of how you can deal with whatever is going on in your life at the moment. A little extra tip is have a glass or a bottle of water nearby and just take a little sip and keep it in your mouth. That's another aspect of reverse engineering a relaxed state, because when you sit down to have a meal and you're relaxed, your mouth starts salivating, right?
Yes.
When you're scared, your mouth goes dry.
Speaking
on stage, your mouth tends to go dry. So
you can't get a word out.
You take a sip and then keep just a sip and keep the water in your mouth, and it stimulates the nervous system to think, oh, there's liquid in the mouth, as if you're salivating. So that's basically reverse engineering that relaxed state. So I know this is quite a lot, but it's basically the power pose, looking up, deep abdominal breathing, and then if you can, have the water or just try to keep some saliva in your mouth as well. And that's a little bit like, you can think of this as armor. It gives you that inner boost so that you become more resourceful, whatever is going on.
I love that. Just by listening to what you are telling me, I can just feel how powerful, you can feel by using those tools. I mean, I can imagine going into a very stressful meeting, and then just before you leave your office, take that power stance. It will be an immediate energy boost. And we all know that water is also very healing. It's very important for us to make sure that we stay hydrated, but we must never dismiss the healing powers of water and the cleansing powers of water. So thank you very much. Those are excellent, excellent tools for the women that they can use. And it's easy. It's just, you don't need fancy equipment or very stressful rituals to feel empowered or to feel calm within a stressful situation. It can be as easy as a deep breath And I think it's important for them to know that they can create their own calm with these tools. Now, I also think it's important that women must understand that being emotionally steady doesn't mean perfection. It means it's about the presence of your presence, the presence that you portray when you walk into a room as well. And that's something that you alluded to when we spoke a few weeks ago. And I would really like you to explain, how does being emotionally steady impact our credibility and our confidence, and that despite that we might feel unsure on the inside?
Yes. So the first thing to realize is that, like you said, perfection doesn't exist. So there's always going to be that inner voice that tells you, whatever things that it's telling you. And you can still show up with a lot of credibility and authority. Now, how do you do that? The most important thing is, once you've regulated your nervous system, and I've shared some techniques, and then obviously you can do more together with a practitioner like yourself or me, or on the energy side, to really regulate the nervous system really well. Once you've done that, what's really important is to also have a positive image of yourself. So yes, the insecurity is going to be there, but you can use your own thoughts and emotions to overpower that little bit of insecurity. And there are several tools with which you can do that. You already mentioned the positive self-talk. There are, positive affirmations, or you can create a movie in your mind of the future. But what's very important is that to realize that once you have self-respect for yourself, other people will automatically also respect you exactly the same. And this is what happened to me when I started in a very demanding job at Morgan Stanley. And initially I was working really, really hard, doing everything that people told me to do. And then when I asked for promotion, people told me, no, you're not going to get promoted. You're going to get fired. You're not doing your job properly. And I was really shocked. But what I got told was that I'm just doing everybody's work, but that's not enough. I need to put myself out there and have ideas and publish reports and call the clients and, do the glamorous work, basically. And I was waiting to be given the glamorous work, but they wanted me to grab the glamorous work. So I went back to my desk, and after feeling a bit upset for a while, I started watching how other people were behaving and what was probably going on for them internally. And what I realized was that these people are not any better than me, actually. They just think higher of themselves than I think of myself. So they all thought they were good enough. I thought I wasn't good enough because I didn't have, and then a list of things. So in my case, it was, I didn't have an elite university education. I wasn't a native British speaker. I hadn't got first-time passes in all my accounting exams. I'm not as eloquent as all those people, right? And I was a woman, and I was a foreigner, and they were British and really like keeping themselves really well. And I thought, I'm not good enough, so I have to work harder. But once I realized that, I thought, okay, I'm just going to try out that paradigm that I am good enough. So I changed my way of thinking. I told myself I'm good enough, and what happened as a result is I automatically behaved very differently. I stopped doing everybody else's dirty work, and I started grabbing the so-called glamorous work. I was putting myself out there with ideas. I was calling clients. I was going and I went and spoke to senior people who I thought, they have to give me permission to speak to them.
Yes.
No, I'm just going to go and speak to them. And what happened, Chaneen, is that people respected me so much more. They stopped asking me to do their dirty work. And instead of getting fired, I got promoted and my salary doubled. So that's a little story to show that once you start thinking differently about yourself, other people will automatically mirror that. And it's not something that takes a long time. It was maybe a matter of weeks, this transition of starting to believe in myself.
Yes. What a powerful story and such a great testimony. And I think a lot of women can relate with you because we always tend to feel not good enough. I don't know always why that is, but especially during this phase of transition, where you are going through changes and you are entering new environments, or you're going through an identity shift and you sort of feel lost, it's so easy to then doubt yourself and to not feel good enough. And I love how you just said, if you can respect yourself, then others will automatically respect you too. And I think that's so important. So thank you so much for being so honest and sharing your story today, because there's definitely women out there that needed to hear that and that's going to relate to your story. There is, with this phase of transition, I think a lot of women can tend to, because they feel unsure, because they still don't know exactly who they are as they go through an identity shift, they feel a little bit lost. They can sort of be pretentious. And I don't want to sound very negative when I say that, but they can then feel as if they can't show up in their authentic self. That's basically what I mean. And then they just try harder, like you just alluded to, you just worked harder, but they try harder to be. So then they end up, worrying, am I too much? Am I not enough? So what tools can women use to, make sure that they can be present with and be naturally present, even though they are still sorting themselves out and finding out who they are, without being performative?
Yes, that is such a great question, because growing up, we get criticized so much. And that kind of seems to create that little voice that, my hair, is it too short? Is it too long? We start questioning so much of ourselves. But if you ask the little girl inside yourself, she doesn't care about hair and makeup and all these things that we question about ourselves, right? So that little voice inside our head that likes to criticize us, that's something that we've picked up from society. And we tend to argue with that little voice, right? Yeah. Do you?
How much energy aren't we wasting arguing with that little voice?
Yes, absolutely. But so we realize we're arguing with ourselves with that little voice. But who's the other part of us that's arguing with the little voice, right?
Yeah, it's us. Yeah.
The real self is. Who we were as little girls when that voice didn't really exist so much. So that is a part of our true self, our higher self, our authentic self, whatever words you like to use for that. Some people like to use the word soul or higher self. It's the true essence of who we really are. And this little voice, the mind, that's just something that we picked up along the way, right? It's maybe like a bit of a thinking partner. Now, here's the thing to realize is that little voice, we picked it up along the way, and it only knows our past. It only knows what's happened in the past. It doesn't know the potential of who we can be in the future.
Wow, that's so true.
So who knows the potential of who we can be in the future? Yeah. It's whoever is looking after this body, this brain, this heart, right? From somewhere else. And that part of us knows about our potential, wants us to reach the potential. But in order to reach our potential, we have to learn how to deal with that little nagging little voice of, oh,
Yes.
this is not good, that's not good. And, this little distraction, I call it sometimes a distraction, because it's like, oh, should I go and cover have my hair dyed again and cover up my grace, or should I just go grey? And, it's just, and then you think about it for hours every day, wasting all this time. So, so any listener who's there wondering, or if I can ask the question, have you ever argued with yourself, or do you argue with yourself on a regular basis? You're laughing. So most of us do it. Then the next question is, who are you actually arguing with?
Yeah.
And so my own conclusion is you're arguing with that nagging little voice that you picked up on along the way, right? The mind. Whereas your true self is, you're not the mind, you're a lot bigger than that. So that is your authentic self. And any situation, any circumstance in your life, or every moment in your life, you have a decision. You make a decision, and the decision is, who's going to win? That nagging little voice, or your true authentic self? So I think your question was, how can we let more of that through
that authenticity, yes.
Yes. How can you be more authentic is to realize when you're arguing with yourself, and to become aware of, oh, wait a minute, I've been arguing with myself about whatever it is, touching up my grace, or, growing up my grace. And I'm just going to make a decision now, my higher self, what's my higher self? Think about it all, and then go with it, and then decide not to think too much about it anymore. Or if you're scared about what might happen if, I don't know, you go and speak on stage, like a potential transformational thing that you're doing in your life, go and speak on stage, or finish a relationship, start a relationship, or change a relationship, right? Is to actually create a movie from the future, or various movies in the future, and connect with your higher soul, your higher self, and just try and see what your higher self, how that plays out. And then, because we're all very good at playing negative movies about the future in our mind because of that nagging little voice, nagging little voice that only knows the past. But what if you allow your higher self to create a movie from the future? What might that look like? And then you can reverse engineer it back to today and know the steps that you need to take in order to make that beautiful version movie a reality. And then, of course, you need the mind to do that. So it's a partnership.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. And I think it's also a little bit about permission, just giving yourself permission to be yourself and to allow yourself to show up in your authentic self. I think that's also a very big part of that. But I love that analogy with the little voice. It's so true. And we are moving to the end of today's session. So I just want to ask you, what about the woman that is at this stage while she's listening to our conversation? She's feeling tired, she's feeling overwhelmed. Maybe she's even questioning everything in her life, where she is. What is the one compassionate action that she can take to steady herself going forward?
Yes. So here's a tool that has helped a lot of the women that I've worked with. Also men, by the way. And that is to create a list of your past achievements. And create a list of the past achievements that felt really hard at the time. So it may have been learning to ride a bike.
Yes.
Right? Because you fall a lot. It takes a lot of resilience, to learn how to ride a bike. That's something that people might remember. Learning to walk, we may not remember because it's too early. But learning to ride a bike, most people learn it when they're 5 or 6. That's when we already have a bit the nagging voice. The mind is already active.
Yes.
So write a list of all the things that have been hard or scary in the past that you have overcome. And then remember the feeling of how you felt when you had that achievement. So from today's point of view, riding a bike, it's the most normal thing for a lot of people who know how to ride a bike, right? Or learning to swim or to drive or whatever skill that you've learned in the past. But when you initially learned it, the pain, the resilience, etc., remembering that you have done hard things before and you had an achievement from it, an achievement or a learning. So as you create that list, and it's important to keep writing, I would write it down because it activates more parts of your brain, so it becomes more real again. You create a list of all these amazing things that you have achieved in the past, and from the point of view of where you were at back then. And then whenever you feel like, oh my gosh, you're shooting yourself, you're saying, I should this, I should do that, you can get that list back out. So you can have it as a list on your phone or on your laptop or written down in a notebook somewhere, but it has to be accessible. You can read that list out loud for yourself. And you go like, wow, who is that person? Who is this amazing person who has faced so many setbacks, so much resistance, nobody believing in them, and they still went through with it. Who is this person? And then you realize, oh wow, that person is me, and I've done it so many times in the past before. Like I've gone ahead with it, and I achieved it, or I learned something from it. And that to me is a very compassionate thing for yourself to do. Because it realizes, yes, things are hard at the moment, and I'm the type of person who has faced hard things in the past, and I've mastered, I've overcome it. I've come out smarter, more capable on the other side of it.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I also know that the nervous system likes proof. So that's such a good way to, accumulate, how many ever proofs that you can go back to and say, but listen, this is what I've already done. I've done this. I've overcome that, so I can take on this new challenge. The nervous system loves to know that you have overcome something in the past. And having that reminder can help you be resilient with wherever you are at the moment. So what a beautiful analogy. I've loved this conversation so much, Bianca, because you've got the ability and the skill to use so many angles to explain to us how we can take care of our nervous systems, how we can create calm and be resilient and handle the daily stresses without, giving up or allowing our emotions to take over. So I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for being here and for really sharing your wisdom, and for the very beautiful manner in which you shared all the beautiful stories today. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation, Chaneen. I love any opportunity to share these tools with people and hope that they can help as many people as possible.
I think that's important. It's part of our job to share information, and people are really hungry for that. And I would also just like to inform the listeners of how they can reach you. So if anybody would like to engage with you about this conversation further, where can they be able to contact you?
Yes, absolutely. So my website is biancariemer.com. So Bianca with a C and then Riemer. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn as Bianca Riemer. And I have an Instagram account called Relax in London.
Okay, perfect. What I'll do, I'll also add your links to your LinkedIn page and your Instagram in the description box of the episode, then people can very easily locate it there. But thank you for your time. I really enjoyed this conversation. And I wish you all the best with your coaching practice. And may you touch a lot of lives there in the UK. And I really hope to speak with you. Yeah, thank you. And I'll love to speak to you again soon as well. Thank you, Bianca. Now, for the listeners, if you love this conversation, please share it with another woman in her 40s who is going through a transition. And if this conversation stirred something in you, if you realizing that you are tired of doing it all alone, or you are ready to feel more grounded, more energized, and more you again, I want you to know that you don't have to figure it out by yourself. This is the work that I do every day for women in their 40s, and through health coaching and kinesiology, or a combination of both, I help you regulate your nervous system, understand your body's signals, shift the patterns that keep you stuck, and create steady, sustainable change from the inside out. So if you are curious about how we can work together, or just want to explore what support could look like for you, I'd love for you to connect. You can contact me through my website at www.tayenuke.co.za, and I'll also leave the link in the description box. Your transformation doesn't need to feel overwhelming. You just need the right support behind you, and I'd be honored to walk that journey with you. So please follow the link in the description box and contact me. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, because you are becoming someone extraordinary.